I saw her lean down to pick up her phone. A WhatsApp notification blinked on the screen. "Are you free tomorrow evening?" The contact was saved as Sarah, yet the profile picture was clearly a man I did not recognize. My chest tightened instantly. Why is she getting messages at midnight? What is she hiding? Have you ever wondered if you truly understand your life partner? My name is Adam. I'm 26 years old, and I work as a software engineer for an AI startup in Dallas. On the surface, everything looks calm and stable. My job, my apartment, my routines. But in reality, I carry a constant worry, balancing my Islamic faith while not becoming a burden to my aunt, who raised me after I lost both my parents. It all began when my aunt introduced me to Layla, a 26-year-old woman who shares my faith, is intelligent, and is beautiful in a quiet, captivating way. The first time I saw her photo, my heart skipped a beat. Her long, silky hair, her bright eyes, and that gentle smile made me think I'd finally found someone I could imagine spending my life with. Before her, I had never been in a serious relationship, so when we started growing close, I welcomed her into my life with all the hope and sincerity I could muster. Last night, we attended a charity fundraiser in Oakland, San Francisco. Layla wore a black cocktail dress that hugged her curves, the neckline plunging just enough to reveal a hint of her flawless skin. When the jazz band played, I slipped my hand around her waist, feeling the thin fabric cling to us as we swayed. The room glowed under soft lighting. Rose-scented candles flickered on every table, and for a moment, it felt like it was just the two of us in the world. But then, amid that warm glow, I saw her lean down to pick up her phone. A WhatsApp notification blinked on the screen. "Are you free tomorrow evening?" The contact was saved as Sarah, yet the profile picture was clearly a man I did not recognize. My chest tightened instantly. Why is she getting messages at midnight? What is she hiding? This morning, I told her I was heading out to buy ingredients for a traditional Ramadan dish. But really, I slipped into the bathroom she'd just exited so I could check her phone. In less than a few minutes, I discovered that the conversation in question had already been deleted. Only one thing remained intact: a group chat with her close friends, where the name Jason still appeared in bold letters. My heart froze. Who is Jason? And how could she have been secretly seeing him for 8 whole months? Every sweet memory of our 4 years together shattered in an instant. I remembered those afternoons we would sit side by side studying the Quran together, her small hand tucked gently into mine, her head resting on my shoulder. I remembered the first time she whispered "I love you" to me in our tiny Houston apartment, surrounded by the faint scent of shampoo and the gentle glow of scented candles. And now, she'd been hiding this double life from me. Layla's family, her mother, and her 5 older sisters had known about her relationship with Jason for some time. They forced her to choose between me and that other man, but she stubbornly told them, "He doesn't know a thing." In front of me, she kept playing the part of the happy fiancé, smiling as if nothing was wrong. I stood there speechless at the deception. Could my love, my steady job, my old pickup truck, and my modest house be enough to keep her when she'd already given herself to someone else? In America, people talk about freedom and individual happiness, but for me, honor and my Islamic faith are sacred. My aunt used to say, "You must protect your honor. Marriage is sacred and mustn't be sacrificed for mere desire." Now, standing before the mirror in my cramped apartment, my hand trembling around the engagement ring she'd just given me, I wondered, does she even care about those vows? The late afternoon sun had dulled to a soft gold across the room. I inhaled deeply, trying to hold back the pain rising in my chest. But the question echoed in my mind. Should I stay silent and bear this secret so I don't destroy her family's reputation? Or should I expose everything, knowing the consequence will be the collapse of her family's honor and that I may lose everything in return? With each passing second, doubt grew deeper and the hurt intensified. I stared at the ring, then at the cool wooden floor. Deep inside, a new resolve began to form. No matter how turbulent the road ahead, I cannot turn back now. I walked into the upscale restaurant on one of downtown Chicago's high floors, where warm golden light reflected off every polished surface. The aroma of Indian spices mingled with the faint scent of jasmine from the floral centerpiece, creating an inviting but electric atmosphere. Layla had invited me to dinner with her friends, and I immediately sensed an undercurrent of tension. I was dressed in a crisp white button-up and a fitted gray blazer that emphasized my frame and flannel-lined confidence. When I entered, Layla sat at the center of the table in a deep red dress that hugged her hips, the neckline plunging to reveal just enough to leave everyone around the table breathless. Her long hair had been styled in smooth waves, and her lips, painted a bold rosy pink, caught the glow of the chandelier. I swallowed hard as memories of our intimate moments together flashed in my mind. I took the seat across from her, but my eyes couldn't help wandering to her phone lying face down on the table. Before I left my place this morning, Layla had kissed my cheek, whispering, "I'm starving, so you better treat me well tonight." I smiled and replied, "Of course, but don't let your heart be famished too." I tried to brush aside the nagging worry from last night's strange message and decided to focus on the evening. But when she got up to use the restroom, her phone vibrated quietly on the table, and despite myself, I caught sight of a new WhatsApp message. "Where are you? I want to see you tonight." Why was that message sent so late? Why wasn't she asleep? She returned with a calm smile, but I saw the way her eyes flickered, the faint tremor in her lips, as if she'd just read something she wished I never saw. Rather than confront her, I remained silent and watched, giving her space to speak, or pretend nothing had happened. Laughter erupted around the table as her friends placed orders and chatted about the week's events. The room buzzed with energy, but my world felt like it was spinning in slow motion. Why was she still acting as though our dinner was nothing more than ordinary? Was this all an elaborate show she was putting on? Across the room, I saw an unfamiliar man seated at a table near the window, his silhouette outlined by the city lights. My heart pounded. Could that be Jason? Did Layla bring her friends here so I'd meet him face to face? A wave of cold dread passed over me. Why would she arrange to meet him here? I blackened a fingernail on the icy cube in my mojito, my jaw tightening. That dinner continued in heavy silence, for me, the clinking of glasses and silverware virtually echoing in my ears. I fought to maintain a calm facade, but every instinct roared inside me. Was tonight meant to be a secret rendezvous? Was she orchestrating some trap to humiliate me? The waiter came and placed a steaming plate of chicken masala in front of me. The rich spices and fragrant aromas usually made my mouth water, but now the taste turned bitter as I took a bite and tried to force my mind away from those unanswered questions. Yet I couldn't stop sneaking glances at Layla. She leaned in and spoke quietly to her best friend, referring to him in a tone that made my blood run cold. She said, "He's waiting for me," as if discussing a casual lunch date. I forced a tight-lipped smile, feigning interest in my glass of red wine. But beneath the table, my legs were trembling. How could she speak of Jason so lightly in front of me when we sat mere inches apart? Halfway through the meal, I saw her surreptitiously send a brief message to someone. "I'm with him. I'll head to see you soon." I lunged to grab her phone, but she clutched it back, hissing, "What are you doing? You just accidentally hit it on the table." Her eyes glinted with that seductive, mocking smile. her lips parting just enough to remind me of every secret moment we once shared. I placed her phone down gently and said, "Sorry, I just—" My voice trailed off, because how could I demand honesty amid such a carefully staged scene? A few moments later, her phone buzzed again, and I read the single-line message, "Meet me at the back exit." I didn't even bother replying. My chest tightened with each second as the tension rose into a painful knot. I finished the rest of my meal, but every bite felt like sandpaper on my tongue. When Layla finally bid her friends goodbye and rose from the table, I stayed near the exit, trying to appear calm. "Where are you going?" I asked quietly. She looked back at me, her eyes glistening with feigned innocence. "I'm meeting a friend." I forced a laugh that came out more hollow than amused. "What time did he ask you to come?" She didn't answer. Instead, she turned and walked away. Watching her silhouette shrink down the hallway, my heart sank. Was I still just a clueless character in her long, painful performance? I drove to a deserted parking lot behind a bar in West Loop, the streetlights casting long, pale shadows among the rows of parked cars. My mind was a hurricane of anger and hurt. The faint glow of Jason's black Mustang caught my eye, parked alone by the curb. Watching Layla step out of the bar, I could smell the lingering aroma of her perfume mingled with cigarette smoke. Her breathing was uneven, and when her gaze met mine as she approached the car, I saw something in her eyes that was no longer the gentle affection I once knew, but a daring, lustful challenge. Jason looked up from behind the car's windshield with a sneer that spoke volumes. "She'll be back soon," Layla whispered, leaning toward me, pressing her chest against mine. The scent of her skin, sweet and heady, hit me like a physical blow. I gripped her wrist tightly, but she pushed me away, her lips curving into a cold smile. "Don't hold me back." I exhaled in frustration, stepping back. "How much is he paying you?" I hissed. Her expression turned icy. "This isn't about money, it's about passion," she replied, her voice low and defiant. In that moment, everything shattered. 4 years of her insisting she loved only me, that I was her one and only, crumbled. I could still taste the memory of her lips pressing against mine months ago, warm and trusting. Now she was embracing another man, like a lover desperate for escape. I clenched my fists, feeling rage flood through my veins. I grabbed her small designer bag, something Layla always carried with her, and turned on my heel, storming away as the sound of her laughter and Jason's mocking jeer echoed behind me, an unmistakable reminder of how deeply I'd been deceived. I slammed into my own car and sped away toward Houston, my knuckles white around the steering wheel. Each red traffic light felt like a taunt, forcing me to pause just long enough to taste my own bitterness. My mind raced. How had I been so blind, and how could I have trusted her completely when she was living a second life behind my back? I arrived at my apartment in the early hours of the morning. I fumbled through my pockets for my phone and called my only confidant, Mark, my best friend from college, and now a young lawyer of Pakistani descent. "Where are you?" I demanded when he answered groggily. "I'll be there in 15 minutes, he said, already halfway out of bed. His loyalty has always been unfailing. I stripped off my jacket and collapsed in the bathtub, letting the cold water submerge me. Hoping it would numb the fire inside, the foggy mirror reflected my hollow eyes and the bruise-like tinge of red under them. I wondered, do I have the strength to exact revenge? Can I remain true to my Islamic principles while descending into darkness? Mark arrived at midnight exactly. He knocked lightly at the bathroom door. I surfaced from the water, dripping wet, and wrapped myself in a towel. We moved to the living room, where he offered me a beer from the small fridge and set down a box of chocolate-covered dates. "I want her to pay," I said, my voice cracking with emotion. Mark's eyebrows knitted. "What are you planning? You sure you don't want to take your time and think?" I shook my head vehemently. She and her family have been playing me for a fool. Her mom told me I was the perfect husband material while she was sneaking around with Jason for 8 months. I can't just let it go. Mark let out a long sigh. Just be careful. Anger can blind you. I nodded, even though my mind was already racing ahead. Tomorrow morning, I start. I won't rest until it's done. He looked at me, concern and a hint of admiration flickering in his eyes. Don't let hate destroy you, he warned. But in that moment, I didn't care. I felt a grim satisfaction that maybe, just maybe, I'd begin to reclaim the dignity she stole from me. Early the next morning, I woke up before dawn in my dim apartment, the smell of coffee brewing drifting from the small kitchen. Mark had emailed me a dossier, details about Jason, his job at a San Jose marketing agency, his social media accounts, even his tax records. I swirled my coffee and dialed Jason's number. It went straight to voicemail. A grin tugged at my lips. Phase 1 of my plan: make sure Jason loses his job and his reputation. First, I drafted an anonymous message to Jason's manager. I have evidence that Jason used his company email to contact a married woman for an affair. I can supply screenshots and chat logs. Please investigate immediately. 10 minutes later, I received an auto reply confirming receipt. My pulse quickened. The first blow had been struck. Later that day, I drove to Layla's parents' house in Dallas under the guise of being a bank official verifying her mortgage information. Their home sat at the end of a quiet cul-de-sac, a white picket fence enclosing a modest front yard. I pressed the doorbell. Layla's mother opened, her thick-framed glasses magnifying her eyes in suspicion. I introduced myself as a representative from her lending bank. She invited me inside. In the living room, a framed engagement photo of Layla and me hung on the wall, surrounded by family portraits. Over the next hour, I carefully asked about the mortgage details, employment history, co-signer information, and any undisclosed debts. She explained the loan process with precise answers, but I could sense her growing unease when I mentioned Layla's late payments. Each time she answered, I feigned typing notes, though I had already extracted enough details from the mail and publicly available records. My real goal was to sow doubt in her mind, make her question whether her daughter's life was built on any real stability. Back in Houston, I refused every single text and call from Layla. At night, I meticulously compiled screenshots of her conversations, voice messages, and photos from her social media. I spent a full week building my case, documenting Jason's affair, capturing evidence of Layla's deception, and preparing to unveil it all. More than that, I aimed to push Layla to a breaking point, force her to publicly apologize and call off our engagement. I wondered, as I pressed send on a hyperlink to a local news editor, will she crumble or will she fight back? 1 week after my initial strike, Layla finally broke her silence. She didn't call me. Instead, a local news article appeared with my anonymous tip. Engagement scandal. Prominent Texas fiancée allegedly cheating with married man. The headline blared across every online platform. Jason's company suspended him that same day, pending an internal investigation. I allowed myself a small, satisfied smile. I had taken his primary source of income away. Yet I was far from done. My next target was her personal brand. Layla's Instagram account boasted nearly 50,000 followers. She posted "Get Ready With Me" videos, snapshots of our happy moments, and stories about our future wedding plans. I created a burner account and began leaking the messages and photos. Her bourbon-scented hair, leaning into Jason's shoulder in a dimly lit bar. A screenshot of her saying, "He's the only one who makes me feel alive." Comments flooded in disbelief and outrage. Her followers, some loyal, some opportunistic, turned on her, sharing the posts widely, tagging her family and friends. That very night, I arranged for a small group of freelance journalists to visit her old apartment in Dallas. I told them I was an investigative reporter. They found the place empty but for a few photographs scattered on the floor. A family portrait, a college graduation snapshot, an engagement invitation. "Where is Layla?" neighbors whispered. I answered cryptically, "She's responding to those allegations." A drone of cameras and phones captured every angle. By sunrise, the internet was ablaze. Fiancée under fire announces double life. Layla's delivery business clients started canceling contracts. Her side hustle baking business lost sponsors overnight. I felt the electric thrill of revenge closing around her. However, the next evening, I received a different kind of proof, a grainy video from a private investigator I'd hired. In it, Layla and her mother were huddled on a couch, both in tears. "I'm sorry I lied," Layla choked out. "But he's the only one who ever made me feel special." Her mother's voice cracked as she whispered, "Do you even know he's been divorced twice and cheated on his ex-wives? You'll be humiliated when people find out." I paused the video. Layla's sobs echoed in my mind. Part of me ached to stop, but deep down, I felt I couldn't let her off the hook. The following morning, her employer in Houston, where she had been working as a cultural editor, sent a termination notice. The official reason: conduct unbecoming, damaging company reputation. Her family's unity crumbled. Her older sisters posted fiercely supportive messages, but readers saw through the facade. Each reply was more scathing than the last. In that moment, I experienced a bittersweet satisfaction. My plan was complete. Yet as I watched her world unravel, I realized I had also lost something precious, whatever remained of what I once felt for her. The day of the canceled engagement party arrived, a small gathering in Layla's parents' backyard. I showed up like a victor. The backyard was strung with warm white lights. Folding tables with crisp white linen were arranged neatly. A small round table held a cake topper that read, "Forever and always," now mocking in its irony. Layla stood in front of a battered wooden gazebo, wearing a simple white dress that hung loosely, as if she'd lost the spark to care about her appearance. Her face was pale, dark circles under her eyes. When I approached, she lifted her gaze with red-rimmed eyes and tightly pressed lips. Her mother hovered behind her with a mix of anger and disappointment. I cleared my throat and said, "Layla, it's time to call off our engagement." My voice was steady, even though every part of me ached. She turned slowly, her lips trembling. "Promise me you'll at least say sorry," she whispered. I raised an eyebrow. "I refused to be fooled by you." My words felt cold, but they were exactly what I needed to say. Before I could step away, Jason emerged from the shadows, his posture stiff with righteous anger. He locked eyes with me and sneered, "She's better off with me than him." I glanced between him and Layla, then met his gaze squarely. "Jason, you might think you saved her from me, but remember, she was cheating on me with you long before either of you believed she cared about our family's honor." Jason's lips pressed into a thin line, and he turned to Layla, but she flinched as though seeing him for the first time. I approached Layla and gently kissed her forehead. Her cheek was cold under my lips. "Goodbye," I said softly and walked away, leaving her, her family, and Jason standing amid the wreckage of what was supposed to be our future. I stepped into the cool autumn air outside the gate, breathing deeply. Anger, relief, and an odd sense of calm washed through me. I had exacted my revenge, exposed every lie. But as I looked back, I couldn't help wondering if this was truly closure, or merely another chapter in a story of broken hearts and shattered trust. Now I live in a new apartment in Austin. On the balcony, I stare out at the still surface of Lady Bird Lake, feeling the evening breeze brush against my face and ruffle my hair. My phone buzzes. It's Mark. "Hey," he says, "how are you doing?" I pause, then answer, I'm I'm okay. Empty, but free. In the months since the fallout, I rebuilt my life. My job at the AI company thrived. I was promoted, and I channeled all my pain into progress. Yet at night, I still dream of Houston, of that cramped apartment where I discovered the truth. I sometimes close my eyes and revisit our prayers at the mosque during Ramadan, when her head would rest on my shoulder as we both recited verses. This Christmas season, I returned to the mosque with my aunt for evening prayers. The glow of candlelight illuminated the faces of worshippers around me. I offered a silent prayer for forgiveness, both for myself and for Layla. As I stepped outside into the cold night air, my path crossed with a woman waiting near the entrance. She was wearing a form-fitting knit dress that hugged her curves and boots that clicked softly as she shifted her weight. Her eyes met mine shyly, but with a curious spark. I paused, caught off guard by how familiar that nervous flutter felt. She gave me a small, tentative smile, like someone hoping for a new beginning. I smiled back, realizing how far I'd come from the man who couldn't fathom a life without Layla. My heart felt lighter, ready to trust again. As I walked toward her, the wind stirred the branches overhead, and for a moment, the world seemed to hold its breath. I took a step forward, prepared to open my heart once more. From the man who was fooled to the one who reclaimed his dignity, I have transformed. When Layla and her family lost everything, I felt no triumph in their ruin, because I knew that hatred only hardens the heart. Instead, I chose to forgive myself for my weakness and embrace the lessons learned. Now, I stand with renewed faith and self-respect. The path forward may be uncertain, but I am no longer afraid. Whatever storms may come, I will rise again, because I have learned that nothing is more valuable than honesty, faith, and the courage to let go.